Hi guys, Iron Cameraman here. The first part of episode 79 can be summed up in just 2 words: poor Titan. Seriously, the episode feels epic and intense, but it still leaves you with a heavy heart. What makes it worse is that this is just the first half. There's no rescue at the end. That's why I'm here, to shift the mood a bit and point out some less obvious details that are easy to miss on the first watch, but add a little extra positivity. Like the Astro Duchess's glasses, for example. Once I noticed them, I just couldn't unsee them. And then there are 2 scenes that might not seem important now, but after today's breakdown, they'll come together like puzzle pieces. Look, the detective takes the device, and here, SWAT's skibidi toilet accidentally drops a photo of the secret agent. I'm guessing some of you already have an idea how those scenes are connected, but if not, make sure to watch the whole video so you don't miss anything. And give it a like if you want TV Woman to go back in time to episode 54 and finally hug Simp. If we hit 15,000 likes, I'll even make a poster of TV Woman and Simp getting married. I just hope Elite Cameraman doesn't hit dislike on this video, and more importantly, doesn't break my iron suit. Anyway, here we go. The episode starts with a POV speaker man getting a portable 2.0 camera strapped on, just like Hugo's. This time, there's a new message in the corner: translator connected. The speaker man then explains how it works. Our languages are built in a similar way. Through music, they exchange subtle frequencies. This prototype will allow you to understand both languages, ours and the skibidis. So, what does that mean? First, it implies that thanks to the translator built into the chest or head camera, agents can now understand both skibidis and each other. You'll notice the speaker men make soft noises, kind of like Morse code. Most likely that's how human speech is encoded in their system. You might think the Alliance factions don't understand one another, but that's not true. We've seen cameramen and speaker men react to reverse TV men's speech, even though technically they shouldn't understand it. On top of that, we've heard regular speech from both Titan cameraman and speaker man before, but if agents can talk without translators, then why don't they? Why don't cameramen set up speakers like the TV men did? And why don't speaker men just use those speakers to speak normal human language? To be honest, I don't think any theory can truly explain these plot holes, but I do have 2 guesses as to why Boom went this route. First, if every character had a voice, someone would have to voice them all, and that would seriously slow down production, and the episodes already take a long time to make. The second reason might be that changing the way the characters communicate so suddenly could trigger a negative reaction in the community. We've all gotten used to how the agents behave, their silence, their thumbs-up gestures, and if they suddenly started talking like it was nothing, it would probably feel off. So maybe the translator is just a first step toward giving them voices at some point. If you think about it, we didn't understand the skibidi language at all before either. Remember the scene with the UFO and the fake G-man? That conversation still makes no sense, but eventually, the Astros and the skibidis started talking in plain English, so it's very likely the same thing will happen with the agents. All the needed tech already exists in the world of the show. We've already heard both the Titans and the regular TV men speak normally, so it's just a matter of time until Boom finds a voice acting team that can give our favorite characters proper voices. But the question is, can the skibidi toilets understand the agents? Judging by the fact that the speaker man turns around and says something to the skibidi, yes, they can. And he doesn't even have a translator on him. That means the skibidis do understand the speaker men's language without needing any extra tools. But the skibidi language, on the other hand, is different. Earlier in the episode, it was clearly said, a language only they could understand, until now. In the end, the prototype translator ends up with the detective. Makes sense, especially for the investigation, because besides the cameramen, it would be really helpful to get info from other races too. Like that skibidi special ops soldier. If you remember, in episode 77, he drops a photo with the secret agent on it, and there's a big question mark. That's probably the exact character he needs to figure out how Plunger Man died. I think you're starting to see where this is going. We'll talk more about that in the next video, so don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it. After that, Polycephaly expresses frustration about the delay in teleporting the containers marked with radiation symbols and the crew. There's a question, is he teleporting things from the base or to it? And that's quickly answered by the next 2 shots. One shows a skibidi loading something into a container, The other shows a crane lowering another container next to the already stacked ones. Polycephaly also says he's been doing this for hours, meaning the cameramen started evacuating after several of their other bases were exposed. Probably because of the transmissions the Astro toilets intercepted when they captured the Titan TV man. Most likely they didn't hit the main base first, since they were saving it to test their new tech, especially the radiation screen tech, in battle. And what better test target than a fully loaded base? So when the other bases got discovered, the cameramen realized this one was probably compromised too, especially since it's the biggest one, with the most cameramen and the most data streams that the Astros could use to find it. In other words, by the time the episode starts, the Astro toilets already know exactly where the main base is. You can tell by the direction the invisible Astro is coming from. He flies in from the entrance of the base, not from the area where Polycephaly is teleporting the containers. And that line, "You will die by your own hands," is probably a reference to the red glow from the captured Titan TV man, which, as we know, hypnotizes targets into self-destruction. His monologue gets cut off by the Chad cameraman. That's actually written on his capsule. We once again see energy charging up his body through the ring on his back, just like with the half-Titan. Chad then releases a focused energy blast straight from his hands using some new tech, those energy bracers, and goes back into the capsule and powers down. At this point, it's pretty obvious that this is our good old simp cameraman. Funny enough, we kind of predicted this back on May 25th in that one video. A subscriber commented saying it would be awesome if he became the cameramen's candidate for half-Titan, and I joked back that he'd bulk up and become a beast, and that TV woman would regret rejecting him. And okay, he didn't become a half-Titan, but technically he's now the strongest regular cameraman. After that, alarms go off all over the base. The TV man says they need more time, probably referring to the full evacuation of the base and all its gear and staff. Just like I guessed in the spoiler breakdown, the mafioso turns out to be the new half-Titan. Most likely it's some kind of mech piloted by a mutant, kind of like the one the scientist used before, and now Kleiner does. The Berserker says they'll buy them a little time, which basically confirms that they know the base will be lost and that evacuation is already underway. Then the Duchess gives a monologue that almost exactly mirrors what G-Man said earlier. Back then, G said, "You have no idea what's coming." And now she says, "You have no idea who's coming." And then we see the Watchman of Doom. But at the same time, we hear the Titan TV man's voice, not reversed, saying he regrets becoming the reason for their downfall. Even though the visuals have changed, the structure of the parasite core hasn't really been altered. It's still just an attachment on top of the Titan's core, held in place by 4 claws. That means if you remove or disable it, the Titan should be able to regain control of his body. In fact, he never fully lost control of his mind. His monologue proves that. It's more evidence that the Astros only partially took him over, and he can still be brought back. The Titan can even use his ability to speak to help the Alliance avoid certain attacks, since he knows all the weapons installed on him. He could also help disable or destroy the parasite core. That device we saw in the spoiler and the one mounted inside his TV head might be what reverses his speech or generates an energy shield right inside the screen. Even though he's got a ring like the others, he shows up on the battlefield via teleportation. That's probably just for dramatic effect. In his left arm, he's got an energy cannon that's kind of like Juggernaut's, but not quite the same. It could either be a redesign or version 2.0. That same arm also has an energy shield, so he can't use both weapons at once. He has to pick between offense and defense. Juggernaut didn't have that problem because his shield and cannon were on different arms. The claws on his back are no longer just for melee. They can now be launched for long-range attacks, and they've got tracking systems, so they can target up to 6 enemies at once, 1 claw per target. But his most powerful weapon is this absolutely massive energy sword, something straight out of Berserk. Think Guts' sword. With a single strike, he destroys the scientist's mech. Just to compare, in a previous battle, the Titan TV man couldn't even destroy that same mech with his own blade or core. There's one attack he didn't use this time, though, the energy sphere launched from the core. Once the Duchess blocks the red radiation using her star-shaped glasses, the Astros deploy 4 giant TVs that attack with red energy beams. That's the moment all the cameramen, even Camerawoman, completely freeze, and the transmission cuts out. You might think they're all dead, but remember, the POV wasn't from a cameraman. It was from a speakerman with a chest-mounted cam. And as we know, the red radiation doesn't affect speakermen since they don't rely on sight. That means the operator could have at least saved camerawoman. Apparently, the cameramen weren't wearing lenses. I didn't see any, and they probably didn't expect to deal with that kind of radiation since the Titan's last working TV had already been destroyed. So why didn't they listen to the operator and charged anyway? First, they don't have that translator prototype, so they couldn't understand what he was saying. Second, if they didn't fight back, the Watchmen of Doom would have destroyed the entire base before everyone and everything could be evacuated. The fact that the Astros were able to hijack transmissions and the radiation screens, even after the TV was destroyed, shows they probably got access to the TV men's teleportation tech, and maybe even their purple energy systems, like the energy spheres. Remember, earlier only the UFO could keep the portal open using some device in its helmet. But soon, any Astro might be able to interrupt a teleport completely, just like Polycephaly did in the battle with the scientist. Let's break down the written spoilers from Boom, what already happened, and what's still coming in Part 2. Obviously, the message, "someone important will die," hasn't played out yet. Like I mentioned before, the speakerman operator might still save camerawoman, so who else counts as an important secondary character? Kleiner? Probably not. And I doubt he died. He escaped before the explosion, same as Berserk, Michael Jackson, and the Mafia. Did we learn anything major in this episode? Not really. We're still waiting on Part 2, which will likely bring back G-Man and Titan Speakerman. Did we see any completely new abilities or features? Again, not really. Titan TV Man was already taken over before, and his weapons don't seem like anything fundamentally new either. So yeah, the most exciting stuff is clearly being saved for Part 2. This episode was more like a warm-up, prelude before the real action kicks in. What we did get a ton of, though, were details, especially in the first half when we got a look inside the base. We'll definitely revisit those, so if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do. You won't want to miss what's next. See you real soon.